Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the very first ever virtual Victory Sports Micro Soccer. My name is Coach Joel, and if we haven't met before, I actually have a funny nickname. You can call me Coach Meatball if you would like, but I don't smell like meatballs, I don't taste like meatballs, so don't get excited. I wish that we could be meeting outside at Hoffman Park all together on Tuesdays and Saturday mornings to be playing soccer together, learning how to play together, and having fun. But I am also really excited that this is the very first time in the history of Victory Sports that we've ever done something virtual or ever done something over a video. So with that, I'm so happy and so excited that you are going to be partnering with me to watch these videos, to learn a little bit about soccer, and to have some fun while we are all staying home, staying safe, and staying healthy. So the first thing that we're gonna do, like I said, is we're gonna warm up a little bit. So what you're gonna wanna do is you wanna get yourself about 10 to 12 feet of space. So if you go to my right side and my left side, this is about 10 or 12 feet of space. And what you're gonna do is go to one side of your space. I'm gonna go to this side right here. And you're gonna start by doing high knees. So you're gonna run, but you're gonna kick your knees up as high as you can every single step. It's gonna look a little something like this. You're gonna run to the other side of the 10 feet doing high knees, just like this. And then you can turn around and do the exact same thing on the way back. Now you notice while I'm doing high knees, right, I'm not taking really big steps. I'm actually taking really small steps, and I'm doing as many steps as I can and kicking my knees up as high as I can every single time. So after you do high knees all the way there and then high knees all the way back, then you're gonna do the next one, which is my favorite, which I think is a little goofy, it's a little silly. I call them bottom kickers. The reason why I call them bottom kickers is because you're gonna try to kick yourself in the bottom. Just like that, you're gonna run, but kick yourself in the bottom 10 feet forward, and then turn around and do it on the way back. It looks a little bit like this. You'll notice, just like my high knees, I was doing the exact same thing, right? I wasn't taking really big steps. I was taking really small steps and trying to do as many fast bottom kickers as I possibly could. Now please, don't kick your brother or your sister in the bottom. Please don't kick your mom or dad in the bottom. Please kick your own bottom. Use those heels to try to kick yourself right in the bottom. Now after that, maybe your breath, like me, is getting up. You're starting to breathe a little bit harder. You're starting to get a little tired. So this one, we're just gonna walk. It's gonna be a little bit slower. And you're gonna walk 10 feet forward and walk 10 feet back. But instead of just walking normal, you're gonna try to kick your toes up all the way in front of yourself and keep your arms in front of yourself and try to kick your fingers with your toes. It's like this. Kick my toes up, and I'm gonna switch legs. Kick my toes up, try to keep your legs as straight as possible. You guys can probably do better than I can at this one. Kick your toes up and then turn around, do the same thing on the way back. Kick those toes up nice and slow, just walking, just stretching out, getting ready to play, just like that. The next one is a broad jump, or when I work with little guys, I call it a frog jump. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get all the way down on the ground like this, like a frog, and you're gonna jump as high and as far as you possibly can. And then you're gonna land back down like a frog and do it all over again. So it looks a little bit like this. Frog jump high. Just like that. All the way there, 10 feet, and then all the way back to where you started, 10 feet. Now the last two things that we're gonna do is just so that you're finally loosened up, finally ready to go, is you're gonna start on one side and you're just gonna jog. So when you jog, you're going faster than a walk, but slower than when you're running. You're gonna jog all the way there, turn around, jog all the way back, and then the very last one is you're gonna sprint as fast as you can, 12 feet forward, and then turn around and sprint as fast as you can, 12 feet back, as fast as I can. Just like that. Now, if you're anything like me, you're a little bit tired right now. So I hope you're warmed up. All right, now that we're nice and warmed up, the very first soccer drill that we're gonna practice, the very first soccer skill that we're gonna learn is how to handle the ball. It's called ball handling, you could call it dribbling, call it touches on the ball. There's a whole bunch of different names for it, but all it means is how do you move around when you have the ball, right? Now, I know you guys have all played soccer before, so obviously you can't use your hands unless you're the goalie. We don't have goalies right now, so you gotta use your feet. So the first thing I want you to do is take your soccer ball, put it right in between your feet like this, and put one foot on top of the ball, just like so. I want you to put your toes on top of the ball, not your heel. I want you to put your toes really nice and gently. Don't try to stand on the ball, otherwise it might pop, or you might roll off. You wanna just put your toes on the ball, just like this. And I want you to switch, put your other foot on top of the ball, just like that. Switch back, switch back, switch back. We call these toe touches. Really simple name. Or sometimes you call it a trap or a stop, and it's a really good way that if the ball's rolling away and maybe it's rolling away from you, you can do a toe touch and stop it before it gets too far away, just like that. So now that you've done a couple toe touches, now I want you to try to do 10 in a row, just this fast. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job. Great job. Take a little rest. Remember, boys and girls, if the video's ever going too fast for you, or if you need to take a break, you can always pause it and come right back to it later. Now that we've done our kind of slower 10 toe touches, I want to see if we can do 10 toe touches a little bit faster. So in between every single toe touch, I'm actually going to jump off the ground and I'm going to switch feet just like that. So I've got my right foot on the ball right now. I'm going to jump off my left foot and land on my right foot and put my left foot on the ball just like that. Switching back and forth, toe touches just like this. Let's see if we can do 10 toe touches like that. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect, great job. The next thing we're gonna do, we call TikToks at Victory Sports. It's gonna go back and forth just nice and slow. I want you to see if you can do it with me, just like this. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect job, and if you stopped it with a toe touch, extra credit for you, nice job. Now, when we're doing TikToks, we wanna make sure we're not kicking the ball super hard or we're gonna lose it, right? You wanna make sure you're going just nice and easy, back and forth, and when you start going quicker and quicker, then you can kick it a little bit harder, but always make sure you've got the ball right in between your feet, right under your control, just like that. If these TikToks are a little bit too easy for you, and for some of you, it probably will be, that's okay, because number one, you should always practice the little things and the basics, even if you think they're too easy. And number two, you can practice them, but just go even faster and faster. Or number three, you can practice them and you can move just like this. I can practice TikToks and I can move around in circles, just like that. That's a good way that if you're a little bit better at soccer, maybe you've played before, maybe you played micro soccer last year, those are really good ways that you can still practice TikToks, even though you might have a little bit more experience. All right, now that we've practiced our TikToks and our toe touches, now we need to start moving around a little bit and upping the difficulty a little bit. So what you're gonna do is I want you to take your ball and go right back to where you started when we were doing our warm-up. So right over here, I'm gonna start, and then I want you to remember how we were going back 10 to 12 feet. We were warming up, going that way, this way, and that way. We're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna do it with a soccer ball. So it's gonna look a little bit like this. I'm gonna start over here with my ball, and I'm just gonna kick my ball in front of me. You can do TikToks if you want, or you can just use, maybe you're a little more comfortable with your right foot, or maybe you're a little more comfortable with your left foot. You can just use that one foot, but you're just gonna kick the ball 12 feet in front of you and 12 feet back. But here's the trick. You're not allowed to just kick it all the way there and then run after it. You've got to keep the ball in front of you at all times. So I'm gonna start a little bit slower because I haven't practiced in a long time, and then we'll go a little bit faster. So whenever you're ready, try to go 10 or 12 feet forward, turn around and come back, just keeping it right in front of you with little kicks. Turn around, same thing, just little kicks all the way, stopping with a toe touch. Now, like I said, if you're feeling really comfortable with that, then just go faster. Or if you have more space, you can go further. I only have about 10 or 12 feet. Maybe you only have about 10 or 12 feet too. That's okay. Go faster or further if you can. Now, the next thing I want us to practice is a little bit goofier. So instead of just kicking the ball in front of us, I actually want to see how many times we can touch the ball with our foot in that 10 or 12 feet. Here's what I mean. I want you to take as many little itty bitty touches as you possibly can from here to the other spot 10 feet in front of you. So I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna go really, really slow. I'm gonna do TikToks. I'm already at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I could do 17 itty bitty little touches in that 10 or 12 feet, just like that. I want you to give it a try whenever you have a chance. The second thing we're gonna do is we're still gonna see how many touches we can get on the ball, but this time, instead of kicking it with the side of your foot or your toes or the top of your foot, we're actually gonna put our foot on top of the ball and we're gonna roll the ball, just like that. You're gonna roll the ball in front of you. So I've got my foot on top of the ball and I'm gonna roll the ball. Foot on top of the ball, roll the ball. This is a really, really good way to control the ball if someone is trying to take it from you, because I have got control the whole time, especially if my foot is on top, because that is a trap or a toe touch or a stop, right? It's really hard to take it from me if I've got my foot on top of the ball. It's a little bit easier to take it from me if I'm kicking it or doing TikToks in front of myself, just like that. So I want you to start. You can start wherever you want. You can go in circles, you can go in a straight line, but I want to see how many times you can touch the ball with your foot by putting your foot on top and rolling it. So if you want to watch me do it for a second before you start, that's okay. I'm gonna start with my foot on top of the ball with a toe touch, roll the ball. Just like that. Roll the ball right in front of you. Roll the ball in the direction you want to go and follow right after it. If I want to roll it this way, I can roll it back. I can roll it any way I want to go. All right, you guys, now it is the time of the day that we're going to sit, take a little break, we're going to catch our breath, and we're going to do what we call challenge time. Now, if you've never been to anything at Victory Sports before, challenge time is simply when we sit down and we talk a little bit about God, or we talk a little bit about us, or maybe I share you guys a story from the Bible, or maybe even a story about me. And we just sit and talk, and then at the end of it, we pray all together. So even though we can't see each other in person, we're still gonna do it over this video. And I'm really excited because today, I'm actually going to tell you guys one of my favorite Bible stories. And it's a story that you've probably heard before, but it's a story that I want to tell you again because I think that it makes a lot of sense for what's going on right now in the world and what all of us are doing, staying at home, and we can't go anywhere. And it's the story of Daniel in the lion's den. This is one of my very, very favorite stories from the Old Testament. I love this story. It means a lot to me. And so if you haven't heard it, great. And if you have, still listen up, because I think it's going to make a little bit more sense today. So the story of Daniel goes that Daniel was raised and put into a really high position in the kingdom that he lived in because he knew the king of the place that he lived, and he actually became really good friends with the king. The king's name was King Darius. And because Daniel got really close to the king, there was a lot of other people in the kingdom that became really jealous of Daniel. They were angry that Daniel was so close to King Darius, and they weren't. They were jealous that Daniel was friends with this king, and they weren't. So they snuck behind Daniel's back, and they met with King Darius. And they told King Darius, they said, "King Darius, why are all these people praying to God even though you're the king? Shouldn't they be praying to you because you're the most powerful person in the world?" King Darius thought about it for a second, and he didn't really love that, but he didn't know what to do, and he kind of got tricked by these people, and so these people kept going. They said, I tell you what, King Darius, this is what you should do. You should make a rule, you should make a law that for 30 days, just 30 days, no one in the kingdom is allowed to pray to God. They have to pray to you. And if they pray to God, then they'll be punished. And they'll be punished by being thrown into a den or like a cave of lions. I don't know about you. That doesn't sound very good. Being thrown into a den of hungry lions sounds a little scary. I don't think that sounds very fun. But we know that we're not supposed to pray to anybody other than God, and we're supposed to pray to God, right? We're supposed to talk to God. So King Darius kind of reluctantly said, okay, we'll do this law. And so the law goes out, and everyone knows that for 30 days they're not allowed to pray to anyone except for King Darius. Well, so this put Daniel in a hard position, because Daniel loved God, and he obeyed everything that God said. But he didn't really want to be thrown into a lion's den. So he had a tough decision to make. Would he pray to God because he knew that's what he was supposed to do, but risk being thrown into a lion's den? Or would he pray to King Darius even though he knew that wasn't what he was supposed to do, that he was supposed to pray to God and no one else? That doesn't really seem fair, does it? That kind of seems like Daniel's in a tough spot. That's not fair. To be put in a position where your options are do what you're supposed to do but be thrown into a lion's den, or do what you're not supposed to do and at least be safe. But Daniel knew something, that God had a plan for him, and he knew that if he trusted God, God would take care of him, and he knew that God loved him, and God wanted the best for Daniel, even if things didn't seem fair. So what did Daniel do? He kept praying to God, and the next day and the next day and the next day, he kept praying for God all these 30 days. And so what happened was these men that tricked King Darius into this law, they came to Daniel's house because they knew that Daniel would probably pray to God. And so they came to Daniel's house, and sure enough, Daniel's praying to God. So they brought King Darius, and they said, King Darius, Daniel's praying to God. He's not praying to you. You got to throw him in the lion's den. And King Darius was really sad. He was heartbroken. He didn't want to throw Daniel into this lion's den. He loved Daniel, but he knew that this was the law that he made, so he had to. So they throw Daniel into this lion's den for a whole night. Do you think Daniel was scared? I know I for sure would have been terrified. There's no chance that you could throw me into a lion's den and I wouldn't be scared. But that Daniel, he knew, remember, he trusted God. He knew that God had a plan for him. And even though he probably still was a little bit scared, because it can be scary sometimes if we don't know what God's plan is. We know that God has a plan, but we don't really know what it is all the time. It can be scary. I'm sure Daniel was scared when he was thrown in the lion's den, but he still trusted God. And guess what? God had a plan. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, God closed every single one of the lions' mouths so that they wouldn't touch or hurt Daniel. So Daniel spent the whole night in the lion's den. He probably spent the night snuggled up, cuddling with one of the lions. I bet they were really warm. I bet he slept great. And the next morning, King Darius and all those other men, they came running to the lion's den to check on Daniel, and they kind of thought that he probably would have been eaten by these lions. But sure enough, there's Daniel hanging out with the lions. And everyone was so confused, and everyone was like, what? How did this happen? What? I have no idea. How did Daniel survive this night with the lions? That's exactly what we just talked about. It's because Daniel trusted God, and Daniel knew that as long as he obeyed God, and as long as he continued to pray to God and talk to God, that God was going to have a plan for him. And God's plan was probably going to be better than any plan Daniel could make, or any plan King Darius could make, or any plan that these other men could make. God's plan was going to be the best plan. So even though it didn't really seem fair, right? It's not a fair option to either pray to God but be thrown in a lion's den, or disobey God but live and not be thrown in a lion's den. That's not fair. And that kind of reminds me a little bit of us right now, right? It doesn't really seem fair that we have to all stay inside all the time, that we can't go to school, that we can't hang out with our friends sometimes, that we're not allowed to go to micro soccer, that we can't go to church. It doesn't seem fair. And even though it doesn't seem fair, I know that God still has a plan. And I trust that God's plan for me and for you and for everybody is going to be the best plan. So even though it's not fair, I hope you guys keep trusting God, you keep praying to God, and you keep believing that God has an amazing plan for you, because he does. God has an amazing, amazing plan for each and every single one of us. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you for this day. Thank you for just this amazing story of your servant Daniel, who, even though things didn't seem fair, and even though he had to make a really hard decision, he still made the decision that was right. He still trusted you, and he believed in you, and he still prayed to you, even though he had to be thrown into a lion's den. And God, even though we don't face that terrible of a decision, even though we aren't going to be thrown into a lion's den, Lord, we're a little bit sad and angry too, because it doesn't seem fair that we have to do all these things. But God, I pray that you help us to trust you and believe you and continue to pray to you, because we know that you have a plan for us in our lives, and we know that your plan is perfect for us. In your name, amen. Thanks for praying with me, guys. Thanks for listening to that story. It's one of my favorite stories. Let's get back to soccer. All right, boys and girls, I've had a lot of fun with you today, learning about handling the ball or dribbling, learning about toe touches, TikToks, stops, rolling the ball back behind us so we can turn around and go the other way. But now it's time to have a little bit more fun and start playing some games. So for this first game, all you need is pretty much anything you have lying around the house. If you have cones, that's fantastic, but you don't even need cones. If you have hula hoops, that's great. I had a hula hoop in my garage. I had a hula hoop, but I even am just using water bottles. I have an old dirty shirt. If you have other balls, you can use other balls. If you have a pool noodle, you can use a pool noodle. Like I said, cones are great. You can use almost anything you want that you don't mind putting it on the ground and having it get a little bit dirty, and something that you don't want to lose or get broken. But all you're going to do is spread those things out all over your backyard or your garage or your basement, wherever you are. Spread them out, and you're going to make yourself a little obstacle course, right? I like to call this game Frogger, because there's an old video game that you guys don't know about. Maybe your moms and dads played, I know I did, called Frogger, where you had to try to cross the street as a frog without getting hit by one of the cars. So we're gonna be the frog with the ball, and we don't have cars, thankfully, but we do have all the things that we just laid out on the ground. So what you're gonna try to do is you're gonna try to get from one side to the other as fast as you can. Maybe if you're lucky and if you ask nicely, your mom or dad will time you, or if you have a brother or sister, they could time you if you ask really nicely. And you're gonna start on one side and dribble as fast as you can to the other side. Here's the trick though. If you run into something, if you run into a water bottle, an old dirty shirt, a hula hoop, a cone, that round's over, you gotta go back to the beginning and start again. So if you get really close to one of those, do a toe touch, stop, roll the ball a different way, and go that way. All right, so I'll go first, see how I do. Sadly, my mom's not here to time me. I wish she was, but that's okay. On march, sit, go. Oh, I already ran into a water bottle. I gotta start over. Not a good start. Try again. Old dirty shirt, roll it this way. Toe touch, roll it out. Not bad. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Rough start, not bad though. If you've got a big area to play with, you can put stuff all over and see how far you can go. If you have a smaller area to play with, that's okay, because this is a different way to play that same game with a smaller area. So if you don't have quite as much room, maybe you only have 5 or 6 feet, maybe you're stuck in your room or your basement, that's okay. We're gonna do the same thing with it's an obstacle course, but instead of trying to get from one side to the other as fast as you can, this time we're gonna see how many touches we can do in a minute. So you'll put 1 minute on the clock and see how many times you can touch the ball in the minute without hitting anything in your obstacle course. As soon as you hit something in the obstacle course, that's it, round over, that's your score. So I'm not gonna go for quite a minute, but I'll go for as long as I want and see how many times I can touch the soccer ball with my feet without hitting anything else. And you can't cheat by just standing right here and doing TikToks. 1, 2, 3, 4. You still got to move around. Don't cheat me. Ready? Go. I'll move over here. That's 1, 2, 3. Oh, I hit a shirt. That would have been that. That's it. That's the round. But you can keep going. Do as many touches as you can before you run into any of the obstacles you put out in front of you. That is a great game to practice dribbling the ball and practice handling the ball so that you don't get it taken away from it. The second game is a really, really fun game, and I hope you guys can play it. Sadly, I can't even play it right now because for this game, you actually need a partner. Now, I don't have a partner here, unfortunately. All of my sisters are back at home, and I don't have anyone else to play with. But if you have a partner, maybe a brother, a sister, mom or dad, even your dog, if your dog likes to play around with a soccer ball, what you're gonna do is this game is really simple. It's just called keep away. One person's gonna start with the ball, the other person's gonna try to take the ball away from them. As soon as that person takes the ball away from the person that started with it, then you just switch. Then the person that took the ball has the ball, and the person that started with the ball is trying to take it from them. And you're just trying to go back and forth and not let your opponent take the ball away from you. That's why it's called keep away. You want to keep the ball away from the person you're playing against. Boys and girls, I hope that you can play some of these games at home or wherever you are. I hope that you're safe and you're healthy and you're having some fun. I wish so badly that we could be together playing soccer outside, but I know that this will all be over soon and we'll be able to get together again one day very soon. So remember, in the meantime, be like Daniel, trust God even though it doesn't seem fair. Trust God because you know that what you're doing is the right thing and you're following God. I miss you guys. I can't wait to see you. Get ready for next week for our next video. It's gonna be another fun one. I'll see you then. Bye.